As an artist with full freedom to do whatever I want, I don't have any pressure from any entity to behave, basically. There's no threat to me that if I do a political piece here or something against the president, that I won't be able to continue working in this country. It's something that I think about all the time. It's very important to me because I've experienced it, or my family has experienced it. When you go through that, you then see all of life as sort of temporary. You just think this can disappear anytime. So I'm very interested in documenting what has happened and what is happening in society. I want people to look at my work in 30 or 40 years and go, well, that guy was taking a risk. Why shouldn't I take a risk now?
Edel Rodriguez has created more than 200 magazine covers for the likes of The New Yorker, Time Magazine, Newsweek, and Der Spiegel. He uses his own life to capture what it's like to grow up under an authoritarian government and to sound a caution for the future in the United States. His book is called Worm. Edel, the floor is yours. Thank you.
It's strange to have kind of a whole book conceptualized in your mind for so many years. I wanted to write a book that documents what happens to a Cuban family that doesn't agree with the system. And I wanted to tell the story of an immigrant family and why they leave their homeland. Writing it was actually difficult because a lot of logistics and information and interviewing. But once the whole thing was written, the fun part was seeing all these images come to life, remembering all of these things. ¿Cuántas veces yo te he dibujado ya?
2 o 3.
Hay más que eso, yo creo.
Y eso estamos lejos.
¿Qué tú crees?
Parezco una princesa.
Oh, wow.
Una señora del respeto.
Wow. This is a different reaction than usual.
Ajá. Ya. Una pintura perfecta.
The things I remember about my childhood in Cuba was growing up in the countryside. El Gabriel, the town that I grew up in, was my world. You know, I didn't really feel like I lived in Cuba. I lived in El Gabriel. My parents were probably the best people that I know. They really try to take care of not just us, but of everyone. There was always a fun time. There was always a party. They always felt like we had enough. They really did their best to give a good life to their kids, even under the situations that they were in. So, esta es la única de las pocas cosas que tenemos de la casa, ¿no? ¿Pero las tiraste tú?
Sí.
Eso soy yo también.
Todo eso lo tiré.
Eso yo creo.
Había que trabajar y me daba negocio porque era el único fotógrafo que había en el pueblo. Los viernes eran bodas, los sábados eran cumpleaños de 15. El gobierno me cobraba a mí $2.50 por hacerla completa, regalarle hacerla. Y entonces yo la vendía a 4 pesos. Ellos te permitían tirar fotos, pero ¿de dónde yo voy a sacar el rollo si yo no tengo el rollo? El rollo cuando yo tenía era porque era comprado por la calle, pero no era muy buena persona y yo no estaba haciendo nada malo.
I don't think people appreciate how much political decisions have a major effect on people's lives. The way I explain to Americans, America's a really difficult way of understanding a system that is so different from this one, is just imagine that there's one company and that's who employs everybody. And then you anger someone in that company that's important. That's it. You can't go to another company. You were seen as a worm, someone that is living off the system, like underground, you know, eating off the system and not contributing or disliking or hating the system. My parents, they didn't talk about Castro in a direct manner. The situation was more about their concern of what was going to happen to their kids. And they didn't like what the system was doing to us, the way we were being raised by the propaganda of the revolution. So that combined with my father's entrepreneurial personality clashed with the Communist Party. And there were very specific threats that were made against him. And that was the main reason why we left.
The Body Snatcher, an appropriate name for a rusted old shrimp boat jam-packed with Cuban refugees. It is part of what is believed to be the final exodus of boats from Mariel. Officials say by tomorrow, the number of Cuban refugees brought over on the Mariel boat lift will total over 100,000.
Mi hija no me la dejaron salir porque tenía 18 años, pero ella no quería que su hijo se criara en Cuba. Tuve que venir para acá.
In anticipation of the end of the boat lift, someone hand-lettered a sign over the immigration processing building on the docks at Truman Annex. It says in Spanish, "Will the last person from Cuba please turn out the lights?"
Oye, ese fue mi trabajo aquí. Esto fue lo que nos dio la comida aquí en Miami. Te voy a decir una cosa para que lo sepas. Lo monté un día en la grúa y le dije, ¿a ti no te gusta el trabajo este? Y me dijo, hay mucho sol. Digo, bueno, estudia. Porque si tú no estudias, te veo montado en una grúa. Porque en este país se viene a estudiar y aprovechar las oportunidades que te dan en este país. Yo no tuve oportunidad de estudiar porque llegué aquí con 40 y pico de años, pero tú tienes 10 años y tienes que estudiar. Siempre le gustó el dibujo. Empezó a hacer trabajito por aquí, trabajito por allá. Y él me dijo, Pipo, yo quiero ir a Nueva York a ver una universidad allá. Hubo una semana por allá, regresó, le gustó. Y le dijo a la madre que se iba. Que se iba para Nueva York. Y se fue para Nueva York y le dije, mijo, vete que vas a triunfar. Quería volar más alto y ya lo sabes hasta dónde he llegado. Es para mí una cosa muy grande, mi hijo. Ha viajado el mundo y estoy muy orgulloso de él. Gracias, no puedo más. Gracias.
Colors in Cuba are color. They are not values of color or gradations of color. It is just straight up color. See, turquoise next to a green and a red in between. So I think that way. And at times it was an issue when I was in art school here in New York City, where everybody was obsessed with shades of gray and maybe a mauve. And here I come into it with a painting like a carnival of color. And to me, it was normal. I did my thesis at Hunter College on Cuban American artists. People like Los Carpinteros, Jose Vedilla, and street art, just random paintings that were done on walls in my town. So since I grew up in Cuba, where this is just life, you kind of struggle a lot with this idea, well, do I do that to belong or do I stay with what I know? Cuban artists deal with political issues all the time, whether subtly or overtly. It's just part of life there. From my experience, I know a dictator when I see one, and I don't like them. That was one of the things that made me become much more politically involved in my work. I've seen what can happen when the wrong people get into power, and I feel that artists are in a unique spot and have a responsibility to become involved in what's happening in the culture. I've never been able to get Trump as a fried egg, like he's done. This would be in the middle. So, sometimes I would bring in some color in here. Trump's orange face in here, right? His little Weasley mouth in the middle here. So I like to frame out the covers. It makes it feel like a cover when you box it out. You write, say, the Time logo on here. I think comedy is a very important tool to kind of disarm people, and then once you disarm them with a joke, maybe they're more open to your point of view. So a lot of my work is making fun of a situation by poking at it or joking, and if someone else laughs along with you, then they're like, all right, you have a point. I've had very right-wing people go, oh, I don't agree with you, but damn, that's really good. And I think if you do that, you make people kind of slightly understand another point of view.
Edel Rodríguez tiene muchas cosas que contar, pero prácticamente todo lo tiene que plasmar en un dibujo. Hoy está aquí con su nuevo libro que se llama Warm y le doy la bienvenida. Gracias por estar.
Gracias.
Ahora, ¿me puedes mostrar la página del New York Times?
Ah, sí, mira.
Porque you made it. Y quería mostrar precisamente la portada porque ahí aparece una imagen del expresidente Donald Trump. Pero una de tus características de Donald Trump es que nunca le pones ni ojos, ni nariz, ni boca a Donald Trump. Es siempre una cara sin rostro.
Sí, porque yo quiero que la gente se fije más en lo que está haciendo. Cuando tú le pones ojos a alguien, que tienes más empatía para esa persona o para el dibujo. Y cuando le quitas eso, como que te fijas más en lo que está haciendo.
Y todo lo vas contando en este libro.
Sí. Part of the reason I wrote the book was to understand myself. You can be a middle-class family in America or any other country, and the political climate gets to a point where it's so stressful that you have to leave it. I can't imagine leaving my house right now, but could happen. And I think, of course, these things get recorded in your memory. It makes a mark on you. It's very hard for me to even talk or write about my grandparents as I break down. But it is sitting on your grandmother's lap at night and she's telling you these stories that I still think about. When they passed away, I couldn't go to Cuba to bury them. Everything just happened in this other space that I couldn't access easily. And you avoid it, and then when you finally have to write about that, then you break. You kind of break down. But now you realized it's important to keep a record of your life, to put it down so that you don't forget it. I didn't want everything that happened to my family to be in vain. It's like a bomb went off, like boom, and everyone went in so many different directions. That's why I made the book. ¿Dónde está?
¿Dónde estoy?
Sí.
Ahora. Frente al Spice State, en la calle cual y avenida cual.
La 34 y la 6, la 7.
Estamos en Manhattan. Estar al lado de My Boy. Yo vine a relax, a disfrutar, enjoy. Enjoy the trip. Enjoy. It's a great moment to be here with my little brother.
I'm not so little.
Not so little.
I always see everyone in Cuba, even my friends, like, what if I didn't leave? I would be in that situation. So with those rights come responsibility to speak about things when I can. There are a lot of people that question whether this is the greatest country in the world. So every time I make something that is highly critical of the politics here, I don't just make it for this audience, I'm making it for people in Cuba that are watching what I'm doing and going, oh, wow, I guess the US is still a place where you can do these things. That's very important to me, to show the world what you can do here. But yeah, at the same time as I'm doing it, I'm like, okay, I hope I still can.